Hello everyone, welcome back to our live stream. It's been a bit of a time that we haven't been here. Simon's finding this hilarious, but we're joined by a very special guest today who you will know very, very well. Lucy Kells, our former vet nurse and hospital manager. So you won't be hearing a lot of me during this one, which you'll be quite thankful for. And I'll pass you over to Simon to introduce what's going to go on.
Well, luckily Lucy didn't hear a word of that. So Laurie was actually being quite nice to you. So here you
I
are.
can do it.
Just nice to see Lucy. Shame to see that she's aged so much in such a short time with the grey hair. I'm still looking at it now.
So mean.
I mean, the holding picture was her with bright red hair and little white legs. And now we can't see the legs, but she's got grey hair. So there we are. So we're back, guys. We haven't streamed for a while. Been a few things going on. But life does go on and will continue to go on. So any questions you've got, we've got all sorts of screens up so we can see the questions. And we'll do a bit of reminiscing with Lucy. Back to the good old days. They were just different days. I mean, Lucy's been here all day and she came back into the same madness that she left all those years ago.
It hasn't changed.
Lucy, how are you? How are you doing?
All good. I knew you were going to bring up about my hair though. I should never have said anything.
No.
This is post-lockdown hair. I decided enough's enough, not dyeing it anymore. So.
Is it because you can't afford the hair dye, or?
No. Thanks, Simon. No. It's I don't know. I just decided enough's enough. And when you live in an RV, if you're dyeing your hair, you can't really do it very easily because it will muck up the tank. So.
Why would one want to live in an RV?
Because it's cool.
It's not cool. It's peculiar. You're going hippie.
No.
You're going like your mummy.
Is my mum there? Hi, Mum.
I don't know if mummy's there or not. We'll find out shortly because she'll probably make a comment now and I shall get into even more trouble. So what have you been doing with yourself?
Still travelling in the RV. Had to have 2 winters in the UK, which has been interesting and cold. But hoping to get away again this winter. Fingers crossed.
Get out of the, well, they say it's so cold in England. It's quite warm at the moment, and we're going up to 36 degrees later on in the week. If anybody's watching this, and we've got lights on me so I don't look too dark, but it does look. Well, it's actually true. Laurie gave me 2 black eyes this week. He got so fed up with me
that
he thumped me in both eyes at once, and it looks like I've got black eyes. But I promise you guys, I haven't.
It's not
so
true.
Everything's good. Everything's
It
good.
will never
here.
hold up in court.
It will hold up in court. It will. I try. Oh, somebody said I love your hair. Look, you can't say that about me, can you? Now, look, guys, let's get this over with. Look, poor me. I'm so upset about my hair. Don't care about anything else. I'm just upset about the hair. So
It doesn't look that bad. I'll be honest. It does not look that bad at all.
If you knew the money I spent trying to keep my hair over these years, and it all vanished in 3 weeks. In fact, I looked down the other week at my jumper, and I normally get covered in dog's hairs. And Toby's got the same colour hair as my hair, because mine's white. And I looked down, bloody Toby, look at all these hairs. I suddenly realised it's my hair falling out, so it's a bit of an upsetting thing too. But never mind, I can get Lucy to cry. Look, she's nearly got that crying face on. I will make her cry by the end of the evening. Watch me, guys, I can be merciless when I go for it, big time. So, any questions coming in, guys? Anything interesting? Or shall we start reminiscing first?
There are a few questions coming in. Obviously, there's been a bit of news recently, as a lot of you guys will know. So we will address a couple of the questions that you guys have related to that, but we do want today to be more about, keeping things happy, keeping things light, reminiscing about the times of Wildlife Aid, Wildlife SOS, everything that used to be done there. So we will address a couple of these, but we will move on shortly after that. The main one that's coming through, Simon, how are you feeling?
I'm fine. Nothing's changed, guys. I'm exactly the same. In fact, if I hadn't ever had the medical, which found out what I've got, I would be doing nothing about it. So I don't, the side effects are minimal. I feel a bit crap for a couple of days afterwards, maybe up to 10 days. But it's just like a bit of flu, really. It's not that serious. If it gets any worse, I shall cry a lot because I don't do being ill. It doesn't happen with me. I just work through it. So that's all cool. Yeah, and if you've got questions, I'm sure Laurie will field them across to me. I'm trying not to look at the screen too much because everybody whinges when I don't look at the people. They whinge when my eye line's all wrong.
Interesting question from Laura, actually, that's just come in on Facebook. How many badgers do we have in at the moment? Your favourite animal?
11, I think.
So, okay, we've never actually addressed this, and I know you say all animals are your favourite, but badgers definitely are. What is it about badgers that make them your favourite?
I don't know. Probably because I feed them more. I do more of the badger, or used to. I don't anymore. I do more of the badger feeding, or did do more of the badger feeding than I do now. But if we got otters in, they'd be my favourite as well. And if we got anything else in, that would be my favourite.
You are a fan of wolves.
Wolves would definitely be my favourite without doubt. But yeah, it's whatever's there. I mean, yeah, I like badgers probably because I have more to do with them than anybody else, and I see them right the way through the centre, and that's really cool. So, as I say, we've got 11 at the moment. They get treated very, very, very generously. They are already slightly big. They live here. I do release the most obese badgers in the world when we let them go. Lucy's shaking her head.
That is true.
I can see
It's
the head
true.
nodding.
100% true.
The nodding. But yeah, so they're in. Not so many this year. We had to be a bit careful because obviously with tuberculosis, it would BTB about. We're very selective where we take our badgers from. We don't want to mix dirty areas with clean areas, and because we're in a clean area, we need to make sure we don't take badgers from dirty areas. So we hope the dirty area badgers go to dirty areas, and because we're so clean in Surrey, we're so frightfully clean, we keep clean here as well with our badgers. So Lucy, come on, say something. Lucy's gone very quiet, Laurie. I think you scared her, Laurie.
Lucy, what was your favourite animal to work with?
I have to say that because you know she can't hear you, so I have to say, Lucy, what was your favourite animal to work with?
Squirrels, goes without saying that they're my favourite animal on the planet, always have been. Absolutely love them. They're just, you can't beat them. They're brilliant, brilliant animal.
I thought I was your favourite animal.
You answered that. Favourite human.
Am I human? I've always wondered whether I'm human or not, really. I'd much rather be an animal, to be honest.
Actually, that's really bad. My husband's my favourite human. I should really
You messed that up, didn't you? Messed it up badly. Sorry, Sean. Sorry.
Sean.
That's the end of that marriage, isn't it? Gone.
Oh.
Who gets the RV? Or do you just cut it in half?
We'll cut it in half.
You cut it in half. So look, lots of money coming in, guys. Thanks very much for that. That's amazing. So come on, we're going back now. We're going back in the eons of time because I shan't remember any of this because it was past 5 minutes ago.
I can't remember.
What's your favourite bit of SOS? What's your favourite bit of scene or time or whatever?
I was never a big fan of the filming side of things. I'm really camera shy, but there's not many jobs that you can do that you can actually look back, and that is one great thing about SOS is when you're reminiscing, you can actually watch it again, because not only is it on YouTube, but there's also the series. So that's very, very cool.
Lucy, we have a problem now. Actually, we don't have a problem because Laurie often asks, "When was that rescue? When was that rescue?" And I just say, if you want anything, ring Lucy because she can tell you.
This is true.
When the rescue was, which episode it was, which series it was, and where in that episode it was. She'll
get back within
She's
seconds
not well.
with series,
She's not well.
episode, and a timestamp.
I know, it's horrendous.
It's scary.
So obviously Lucy loves watching herself on television. So this is the secret, guys. Lucy loves watching herself on telly. She does. She does. Go, come on. Best bit.
Best bit. I know I always say this, but it's got to be the cuckoo story. That whole story was just something, and a whole experience that I'll never forget. It's a species I've never dealt with before, let alone even seen before. And she came in so weak, and we managed to get her strong, and then ended up taking her to Italy for release. It's just one of those once in a lifetime moments.
Well, that's because that's the only time I ever let you travel abroad.
It was, and I
Only
didn't
time I let you go
me.
away.
I really didn't.
And then, you know, what we should admit to people now after all these years, we wanted to get a real strong ending to the story when the cuckoo flew off. So we grabbed another clip of Lucy releasing a heron when she cried. And a bit, look, she's looking.
No, it's the other way round.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the other way round.
Oh,
You've got it wrong.
Oh, I get everything wrong.
The cuckoo tears were absolutely
Genuine.
100% real.
But you didn't give us stuff about the
See,
heron.
this is why you can't catch me out with the.
No, I can't.
clip.
It's fakely trying.
It's the Wildlife SOS YouTube one where I'm releasing a heron and then I cry. That's actually the clip from me crying. It's from the cuckoo story. So.
I don't know why I'm
No
here.
offence to the heron.
I might have had a bit of a sleep now. Obviously, it's all
I'm
gone.
sure-
It's all over.
I'm sure the heron was special.
Okay, second favourite bit.
Working with you.
Oh, that's so. I don't pay you anymore. You don't have
I
to be
know.
sycophantic. You don't have to pretend. You can be honest now.
It's true.
It was fun. We did have some fun times. What are the funniest times you've done? Can you think of any funny times when it's all gone horribly wrong, or it's just got
When we got the species wrong of that water bird, and we were actually going to use it in Wildlife SOS. And both you and I filmed a whole section with this bird.
Oh, was that the one that couldn't walk properly?
Yeah.
Couldn't it? Oh, yes, that was. What
You
was
remember?
it then?
It was a red-legged diver, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we
Red-legged
thought it
diver.
was a shag or something.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
And we thought something was wrong with its legs.
Yeah.
And then we put it in the water, and it was like, it was
Yeah.
like,
It's funny.
there's nothing wrong.
Can't
with
walk
its
on the
legs.
land. It's fine in the water. Wrong species.
Wrong species.
Got that wrong. Did
We
we
thought,
manage?
we thought it was a gannet, a
A
baby
gannet.
gannet.
Yes.
It wasn't.
So you see, nobody's perfect apart from me. I look to Lucy to get all the species right. That's her job. But no, did she? Disaster. Okay, give me another funny time.
Can we just ask Lucy to speak up a bit if she can?
There was
Okay,
something.
Lucy, request from Laurie. Could you speak up a little bit louder? Would be
Oh,
greatly
sorry.
appreciated. That's
Sorry.
quite all right.
Okay.
Quite all right.
Okay.
I know the grey hair slows you down
Yeah,
a
it
bit.
does.
Try to do your
It's
best.
age, age related. I don't know. You must have some.
It's very quiet. You're still
Am I
quiet.
still quiet?
Yes, that's better.
Sorry.
That's better. That's better.
I'll have to shout.
I've got no
No.
favourite moments because my favourite moment can never be more than 5 minutes away because I would have forgotten anything before 5 minutes has passed. So who knows? Obviously, I've had 70 years of doing stuff. God knows what it was, but there we are. Tell me some more. Any interesting stories? Or Laurie, have you got any questions? Questions for Lucy?
I do have some questions for both of you. Now,
Questions
this,
for both of us.
This question, I know what your answer is going to be
Question from
immediately,
Laurie.
so I'm going to ask Lucy first.
Lucy first.
What is the smelliest animal to work with?
What is the smelliest animal to work with? Is Laurie's question, not from me.
I would have to say
Don't say Simon.
the otter. That's the only otter I'm sorry. He was really, really stinky, and anything that you did with him, you couldn't get rid of the smell off your fingers as well. And gorgeous creature, but very smelly.
Vicious little devil.
Mm.
Vicious little devil.
Would you like
Never-
to tell the story of your otter?
Never pick up an
experience?
otter, guys. Well, because we've never had otter. I mean, I'd love otters here. I would really love to work them. It'd be great. But normally, when you get a species in, you sort of work with a young one first, so you can begin to know how to handle it when it gets older, and you begin to know their patterns, what they do, what they won't do, whatever. And so we got this adult otter in. It was in a vet surgery, and they got it into a cage, and they refused to touch it. When they got in the cage, they wouldn't touch it anymore. So I took a cage over to transfer it back, and that was quite interesting. But it was all right, and we got it back. And I thought, okay. So we put it in one of our pens, and I thought, well, I'm going to treat it rather like a badger, because we know they're vicious, we know they can hurt. But badgers, if you say your distance, you're sort of reasonably safe. So we put this otter in the cage in DS3. It was. I remember it very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And the otter was at the back, and I was at the front. I was leant forward just to make sure everything was all right. And this otter did two things. One, it emitted the most blood-curdling scream you've ever heard, whilst at the same time running straight towards me. I have never come out of a cage so fast backwards in my entire life. And I learnt at that session that treat otters slightly differently to badgers, because they will try and kill you. They always say if you ever get bitten by an otter, and this is genuine, you will end up in A&E, because the likelihood it will take a finger off. It won't just bite the finger, it will take the finger off. So guys, never pick up an otter, however flat it looks, however bad it looks. Don't pick it up. We've actually got otters down in Surrey now. We understand, I've never seen one, but I understand they're on the mole. And at the new site, the site we're trying to build the new centre at, we're going to build an otter hole. But that's a few months at least down the line before we do that. But we will have an otter hole there, because they are there, and it'll be really
They
cool
are
to have
appearing on the mole.
It
And we
will
did
be-
get that cub on the Thames, didn't we?
We had one otter cub on the Thames. Was it last year or this year? Last year, wasn't it?
I know, last year or even the year before.
Oh, was it?
Cool.
Sadly, it died. That was a real gut for me, because it's the first otter we'd ever had in, and it was very poorly. It had a large hole in the side of it, so it'd obviously been attacked by something, and
a
it didn't
dog
make
bite.
it. So that was quite sad, but never mind. Any questions, Laurie, or shall we go back to young Lucy Kells? And I use the term very loosely.
There's an interesting one that's coming from Strictly Beyond, for both of you, really.
A question for both of us.
How did you two come to work together?
How do we two come to work together? Lucy can answer this to her ability, and I will then give you the correct version afterwards.
You can't.
So, Lucy, Answer the question, please. How did we come to work together?
Massive Wildlife SOS fan. Never missed an episode. Watched it for years and years and years. And there was a new series, so I looked on the website to see how many episodes I'd missed and try and work out. And I saw the job advert. And I was actually working in a really, really nice veterinary practice. I was perfectly happy. But that was always my dream, to work with Simon. No, to work with wildlife. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go for it. And I went for the job and I had my interview. Let's not talk about that. And yeah, I got the job.
I'm sure we will.
So Lucy arrived at the front door. I was sitting at my desk and I saw a young lady walking up the front door, but then nothing happened. I kept looking. I thought, well, surely whoever it is going to come in a minute. And I was looking at the door, working out to see if she's going to come in. And in the end, a very red-faced lady staggered into my office. So we did the interview, and I thought, well, that went quite well. It was all quite easy. Only a few months later did she admit that she had to get so drunk to walk through that door. She was paraplegic by the time she came to the door.
Well,
I had wondered.
Which is why the interview went so well. So perfectly well. And in comes Lucy Kells. Sadly, she left 5 years later. We're still working on her to come back, but she's a bit old now. I'm not sure whether she can stand the pace. But it'd be lovely to have her back sometimes. But, you know, life goes on. She'll never get me out of her life entirely. I'm always here, guys. Never forget that. So, Lucy, anything from you? Laurie, anything from you? Because I'm not looking at the questions at the moment.
Anything over there? No. Okay, so Pushbike Cam has asked you, Lucy, do you miss Simon's shenanigans?
Do you miss my shenanigans? I'm not sure whether we talk about this in front of Sean, actually. Shenanigans should never be brought up on a live YouTube broadcast. So do you miss my shenanigans, whatever shenanigans means?
I've spoken to Simon pretty much every month since I've left, sometimes more often. So there's never been a case of missing them. So yeah, no, I miss working with Simon. That is true, because it is always fun.
Always? Can I have that in writing?
It is always fun. But yeah, no, I mean, we still speak very regularly. He never ever misses my birthday, which is not something that you get from most bosses or ex-bosses.
It was either that or paying you more money. So it was wishing her a happy birthday saved me fortunes.
But it
really
means so much.
It means so much.
It does. Not many people do that. So.
I've noticed Sven's been active again this evening. Laurie, Sven's €100.
Hello,
Thank you,
Sven.
young Sven. You're fantastic. And
Thank
lots
you,
of other
as
people
always.
being very generous too. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Any questions coming in? Anything from Facebook? Anything from YouTube?
Yes, a few coming in. One that's actually quite topical at the moment. Biddy has asked, can I ask, do animals feel this extreme heat that we're having in the UK at the moment?
This is definitely one for vet nurse. So without asking you the question, I want the answer, Lucy. Do animals feel the extreme heat that we suffer from?
Absolutely, absolutely. Even insects are struggling. It's every species struggles with heat like this, and you've got to put water out for the animals at this time when it's these extreme temperatures. And obviously we're getting wildfires in the UK now, which is terrifying because they think of the damage that's doing. But everyone out, do your part. Put out water for wildlife to help.
The other thing you've got to remember also is, you know, things that dogs, fur-coated animals can't dissipate heat like we can. I mean, I can because I just do that, and all the heat dissipates immediately now, which is even worse. Lucy can because her hair's so grey that it bounces off, it reflects the heat.
Yes.
But humans can sweat, we can pan, we can find
Okay,
shade
yes.
quickly, we can do all sorts of things. Animals cannot dissipate heat. So even if you're walking your dogs, guys, if it gets over about 22 to 25 degrees, do not walk your dogs. They will take all day to dissipate the heat. They will get very dehydrated, which you won't notice for a long time. Lucy can probably give you far more facts about what to do if you do get an animal. How do you know if an animal's dehydrated? How do you know it's suffering?
Yeah, well, I mean, the degrees of dehydration that you see, unfortunately, you'll see like when you do the pinch on the skin that it will be slow in going back. Or you can obviously see if they're panting and you can't see that their gums look wet. But the trouble is that's already advanced at that stage. So for an animal like a wild animal to be dehydrated, they're often in a very critical state by then, because you won't see them when they're less in trouble. So things like hedgehogs, when you see them out in the daytime, and they're already in massive amounts of trouble by then. And it's certainly going back to the dog thing that you said a second ago, there's a really good saying that I've heard, which is what missing a walk won't kill your dog, whereas walking in the heat will kill your dog. So it's a really good one to remember.
Absolutely. Very important. We've just been asked a question about the new site, which I will come on to in a minute. Don't let me forget, Laurie, to talk about the new site in a minute. I was going to ask another question, but it's gone out of my head because we were talking about walking the dog, dissipating heat. Oh, something. What? Wildlife?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about wildlife.
Don't you?
No idea what we're talking about.
We are actually seeing a lot of patients that have been affected by the extreme heat at the moment. We are getting a lot of dehydrated and collapsed animals, and some. You've said a lot of things, especially with young animals. They're unable to dig in the ground at the moment and find food and water. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, young animals, obviously, they've just been born this year. They've learned from their parents roughly what to do, but they haven't got the knowledge that their parents have developed over the years. A parent will dig and dig and dig until it finds what it needs, but I mean, all the invertebrates now have gone quite deep into the ground. So to get to that, you've got to dig down a long way, whereas a young animal will dig down a bit because it's seen its parents do it, but when they don't get anything, they'll give up. So you're seeing more movement of animals, they're looking for food, so we're seeing more RTAs, especially of deer. We've seen a lot of RTA deers over the last weeks, a lot of dehydrated animals, a lot of fly strike, all the bad things we're seeing. So as we always say to everybody, shallow bowl of water for the mammals, try to bury it in the ground so it doesn't tip, and a high bowl for birds and things, they desperately need it. Which brings me nicely on to our new site. Because where have we got to, guys? So we've bought the site, we've got the planning permission, we've done pretty much everything we've got to do, and we've also spent so far about $1.5 million, which seems a huge amount of money, but we've built 3 amazing lakes on that site. So we've got a big water source for loads of animals that can come to it. We've got shallow places, deep places, so it's giving another opportunity for animals to drink. And hopefully within the next few days, we will have at least one of our webcams will be showing the wetlands area of the new site. So that's a 13-acre field. We've got 3 quite big lakes. Apparently we've got, according to the experts who worked out, we've got 54 million litres of water in our 3 lakes, which is a lot of water. And they are developing well. We've got all the plants into that. Obviously the rest of the site looks a bit arid at the moment. It looks rather like the Sahara Desert, but the water's still there. It's doing well. It's maturing well. The aquatic plants are doing well. So over the next few months we'll be planting more of those, we'll be planting more hedgerows, we'll be planting more trees. So it's coming on really well, but we need obviously to, hopefully the first 2 buildings we build will be a little sort of CPD lecture centre and the sort of media centre and the security centre, because we need security down there. The more we build, the more we need to make sure the site's secure. So we've got a lot of cameras down there, but we need to make sure it is secure. And we're cracking on, but obviously just as we were at the point where we could start, we had Brexit, we had COVID, we've now got Ukraine, and everything's gone haywire. We were going to build a new pen just before COVID at 7 acres, which we've been wanting to build for a long time, and we were told that it was going to cost about 10,000 quid, which is a lot of money. But since all this has gone on, because of the price of metal, we've now just been quoted yesterday just under £20,000 for that very same pen. So everything's getting a bit critical. Obviously, there's a lot of people who can't afford to pay their bills. The bills are going through the roof. I mean, petrol's gone up a lot, electricity's doubled, and I think we're not at the end yet. So I understand it's difficult to give money to this sort of thing, so we're desperately hoping for either a very high net worth individual or a corporate to give the most amazing legacy project to not only mankind, because we're going to show mankind why we need habitat, why we need the animals. So anybody who wants to know more, basically, you can go onto our website, or please give me a call. I'll be happy to discuss anything to do with money, because I've run a charity, guys, and as much as I hate it, it's all about money. So if we get the money, we can build the site. The sooner we get it all done, the better. And I'd like to see it done before I go. And if that means I have to hang around for 20 years, guys, I'm still going to hang on by the skin of my teeth. I promise you. I hope.
We actually have a little video just covering the progress that's been made on the new site since sort of back in 2016 when it was all sort of first started. So we will play that for you in a minute, just so you can see what's gone on. But just to clarify as well, if you don't know, CPD is effectively education within the veterinary community. So when you do
any community, CPD is continual personal development. See, that's what it means, Laurie.
effectively, it's a module where vets can learn more about the treatment of wildlife and the handling of wildlife, because unfortunately, there's not a lot given to that within a veterinary degree, just because there's so much else going on. But
right, just give me 1 second. I'm going to do 2 things quickly because while it's still in my mind. Susan Blissett wants to know if you still love her. Susan was my PA for many years. There's stories about her that I cannot relay over live television, but if you pay me enough money, I'll tell you on the side. Susan was brilliant. She was my PA for a long time. We got on very well together. It was a bit of a riot. She was just bigger than this world. She was just enormous. She was brilliant. And the next question was, so the answer to that is, of course, Blissett. Of course I love you, Blissett. Ish. What is Lucy's favourite rescue that Simon did? There's a question for you. Now Lucy's gone very quiet now because she can't think of any.
No, I still think my favourite rescue that you did, well, I mean, there's several of them, because Simon is the world's best catcher of deer, and you've just never seen anything like it until you actually see it in person. But a lot of the videos capture it fairly well. But I mean, they'll literally be going past him and he'll be like, and he's just got them.
Hang on, that was before I got old and weary. Now it's Laurie, and it was Sean. Sean was brilliant with it. But yeah, there's a knack to it, and it is a knack, and it's a knack that I'm losing now, because as you get older you tend to sort of have a sense of your own mortality, so you're a bit more cautious, which you cannot be when you go for a deer. And I've done a lot of rescues with Laurie, and I think, why doesn't he grab it? Why doesn't he grab it now? But any single person will. You just have to be absolutely in balance with the rescue, and you know when you're going to go. And when I would go would not be when Sean would go or when Laurie would go, but you just have to wait, because Laurie knows what he's doing. You did a duck, I think a couple of years ago now, and I was just getting so angry because this duck was sitting there. I said, for pity's sake, go before it flies away. And I was getting so angry behind him. I couldn't say anything or do anything, and he just sort of bent down and got it. But he found his moment, and it was all in sync, and you grab it. So it's as simple as that. It's no big art, but it is a technique, and it's just something that I think you've got in built into you. I don't think you can learn it. I don't think you can read about it. You've either got it or you ain't. And I did have it, ish. Next,
I'm
Lucy.
still learning.
I like the swan rescue that we did when I came back for the week, when I was here for a couple of weeks. And Laurie, I think Laurie filmed it, but we caught the swan at exactly the same time. We each caught our own swan at exactly the same time.
And it wasn't even set up like that either. They just happened to grab it at exactly the same time. We only found out when we were back and we were reviewing the footage. It's pretty much frame perfect when they both
frame
grabbed
perfect for the catch. Laura's just saying that it was, when you look back at the footage, it wasn't set up like that.
It was surprisingly well done.
That's called luck, Laurie. It's called luck. Right, what else we got?
Yes, just before we move on, we'll just do a brief look at the news centre and see exactly what's going on over there. So enjoy a couple of minutes of the video.
Well, that was a shot probably 3 or 4 months ago, and all the water's in, and we then, after this was filmed, we then started putting the plants in. And actually, when you see it come up on the website webcam soon, the planting we put in has done remarkably well. We put in sort of little clumps of reeds here, there and everywhere, and now they've started to really take over the whole pond. So the ponds are great. A lot of the plants are really maturing well. We've got oxygenating planting, we've got all sorts of stuff going on. So it's looking brilliant. The rest of the site looks very arid, I'm afraid, because that's the sort of weather we're in. But it's looking great. So we're literally now fundraising to start building. Once we get to the first million, we will be able to build the first 2 buildings, which will be the temporary CPD centre and the centre for security, which is the most important things. And we can't even do a pointer here, but if you look at the screen in front of you now, in pretty much middle shot, the blue area below the M25 is where the visitor centre will be, and the accommodation for the caretaker will be next to that. And then after that's built, we'll then start building the other bits and pieces, obviously the hospital and all the animal cages. And we're going to increase the woodland space, we're going to increase the planting. We've got lots of hedgerows to go in, because we've lost so many hedgerows since 1940. We've probably lost over half of our hedgerows in the UK, so we're going to put some of those back and make the wooded areas better. But it will be a little wildlife corridor. It will be a haven for wildlife. I was down there this afternoon. We saw a kingfisher, we saw a grebe, we saw 2 herons, we saw cormorant. Yeah, they're eating my fish. I don't like. I've gone off cormorants all of a sudden.
I like them.
I was down there the other day looking. I said, look, there's a little grebe there. Isn't that beautiful? And I suddenly realised it's just like a mini heron, just eats slightly smaller fish. But everything's balanced. We don't intend to release down there. We're going to let the area develop exactly as it would do. We're speeding up the process by putting plants in rather than leaving it for 50 years, because that's asking a lot. But it should be amazing. So as soon as we can start building, we will put our spades in the ground, and I guarantee that I will have the first bit of soil out. It'll be a very tiny piece of soil, because I'm very old, I can't get through the ground. But we will start building, so we're just desperate to get it done. And sadly, because of my situation now, everybody's trying to speed the process up dramatically, because I refuse to go anywhere until that centre's built. Somehow, by hook or by crook, I will hang on in there to get it done.
We should never build it.
That's the wrong answer, Kels, at this point in time. Yes, you know what I mean, guys. I'd love to see it through. I started it, and I will try and be here for the finish as well. But I'm doing my best, guys. I'm fighting it with everything I've got, and I do believe a positive attitude. I believe the brain and the body actually has potential to do far more than we give it credit for. Well, that's what I'm hoping for. But yeah, it's happening. It's all happening. And with your help tonight and spreading the word, telling everybody about it, getting onto all your high net worth individuals, anybody wins the lottery, just be very nice to them and give them my telephone number, please. But it's cool. It's all looking good, guys.
And I suppose the thing is with all of it is, over the 42 years that you and your family have sort of built WAF up into what it is, every pen that we have has sort of appeared as and when we needed it. So
yep.
Yes, it all works and we can do an awful lot with what we have, but over the years you begin to realise the limitations of what you've done, what you thought might work at the time, and doesn't necessarily work down the line. Or one thing that we have realised recently is everything needs to be multi-purpose. So you can't just have one pen that's just for design for one species, because when you don't have that species, it's empty space. And in an organisation like this, we can't afford empty space. We're pretty much full all the time. We need to keep shifting things around. So part of the move to the new centre, as well as this push into education and this push into other things in there, is to make sure that we as a charity can take what we do now and make it so much bigger and so much better, and expand what we are able to do and what we were able to teach in the future. So there's a lot going into this. Not only do we need to move, but we want to make what we do as Wildlife SOS so much bigger and so much better.
It's quite scary that Laurie has become me. I could have said all that. He's learnt it over the years. He's parroted it. He's got such a photographic memory that he takes 5 minutes to do an exam that everybody else takes 5 hours to, because he just knows the answers. So yeah, there's a lot going on. One question just coming about, why is our centre so close to the motorway? That's a good and bad thing, really. I love it because it's very close to the river, and the fact that it is close to a motorway and we know the wildlife is on that site just shows that wildlife can coexist with what is the busiest road in the UK. So that in itself is a bit of an education that they're not scared by a motorway. They don't cross over onto it very often. and they live quite happily right next to a busy road. So it's there, and honestly, to buy land in Surrey, you know, to get any land in Surrey was a miracle. To get that land was a miracle, because if a developer had known about that, I'm sure they would have bought it before we could have said knife at 20 times more than we paid for it. So we got it reasonably cheap. It was still a lot of money to us, but we secured the land first, we got the planning permission next, so we are ready literally to put the spades in the ground as soon as we raise the money to do it. I asked Lucy for some money the other day. I can't tell you the answer she gave me, but you wait till I let someone, I dish some of this dirt on Lucy over the next few years. She'll be giving us money.
Jeez. So, question from Nigel on Facebook. With the low rivers at the moment and the fact that there's no rain forecast in the future, do you have concerns regarding the ecology and sustainability of wildlife in and around the rivers?
It's a bit of an unknown. I mean, we did have a hot summer like this in 1976. This is the hottest one since 1976. We don't know if it's going to be worse or better, but it's pretty much on a par at the moment. And yeah, you know, the water levels are right down. The river is the lowest I've ever known it. I can actually walk across the river next to our site at the moment, and I only don't even get up to my knees in the water. So yes, it's a worry, but the planet's very good. The planet is very good at adapting to issues, be it drought, rain, whatever we get. The only thing the planet can't handle is the speed that we're causing these issues. So if we weren't here and the planet just got on with it, it would all be fine. Sadly, it's not so fine at the moment, and we will have to deal with it. I can just see somebody walking in. I think Lucy's face is going to explode any second now. Somebody has just walked in, who we all know.
A bit of a special guest.
And love.
This, but Lucy didn't.
He's going to sit on Lucy's lap any second now. Here it now. He's squeaked off. He's going to sit next to Laurie. I think he prefers Laurie to us.
You're coming in here, Jim. Are you going through?
So
you
here.
guys can't see this, but who's just walking around. You see James Inkleman, or Jim. He's
there's cuddles going on, guys.
Director of Wildlife SOS for many, many years. So Jim, Simon, and Lucy worked so closely together. They are sort of
Squat down next to Lucy.
SOS,
Squat next to
James
Lucy.
and
It's just nice to see that Jim's hair's gone grey, Lucy's hair's gone grey. We're all aging together.
So Jim's got. We now have all three of the people that were in the picture in the holding card.
We are both going right
on here.
Jim made
try and
Luke.
find that photo again, just so you can see
Yeah,
how
try. Yeah,
much
do
things
find the
have
photo.
changed.
So Jim,
Yes.
have a chat with Lucy, because you haven't seen each other for ages. I'm going to keep quiet for a minute now.
How are you?
How are you? I'm fine. It's
Good.
nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Is that how long has it been since you've been here?
December 2019.
Wow.
So, still
Okay.
had red hair back then. Then
You weren't-
lockdown happened.
Yeah, you weren't working here then?
No.
You just came
No,
back from a visit?
2015 I finished it.
Right, 15, yeah. So and you haven't come back for even a short stay?
I did. Well, when did I come back?
I don't know.
2017?
Right.
Yeah.
What, for a visit or what?
No, I locumed.
But did you
Come back
locum?
full time, Lucy.
Full time. Everybody wants you
forgotten
back
that.
full time. They want you back full time.
Is that why you've come back, to come back full time?
He's
Yes,
trying,
she has.
he's
She
trying.
has.
No,
She's
I
come
am
back.
working.
Jim is
I
here
am
to bully
working.
Lucy
Because,
back into joining us full
Well,
time.
That's true.
because the reason I'm here is I have this document for you to sign.
Yes, seriously.
So Jim really was on pretty much at the beginning, weren't you? You were pretty much at the beginning of the series.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm old school.
Old school.
I'm an OG.
You were very, very old. Yeah, something definitely.
For Jim, how old were
I'm
you when you
OG,
first
man.
joined?
I've been here from the start.
So Laura's just asked me a question in my earphones. How old were you when you started here, Jim?
I just left well, I'm 47 now, and I just left uni, so I would have been, what, 21?
21, 22.
That picture of you, you look about 16 in it though, that
Yeah,
first picture.
I know.
He was young, innocent, and he was polite to me.
I was a
That changed so quickly.
teetotal vegan. Still am, really.
Yeah.
I forgot what platform was.
Jim just realised we're live, so he's having to modify his language.
Yeah, no, you corrupted me completely.
I haven't corrupted anybody.
You made me.
You're all adults.
They used to call you Darth Vader and me Luke Skywalker.
Oh, there you are, you see.
But
But it was a good 10 years. Jim came over the other night for a drink, and we were just saying it was a great 10 years.
it was the
for
best
us, really.
years of my life, undoubtedly. Nothing has beaten it.
And I hear
It's-
you're
it's
award winning now.
Well, yeah. They gave me,
So what have you got so far? You've got a
BAFTA.
BAFTA.
Just like, oh,
Linda
BAFTA. It's a BAFTA.
And I got a Grayson, I think you got as well.
yeah.
You got, well, that doesn't count now. He's got a BAFTA. BAFTA's far more important. Yeah. He's going for the Oscars next.
Yeah.
Yeah, an Emmy and an Oscar. Yeah, that'd be nice.
There you go. See, it'll happen. But you know what? The big mistake when he left here, I should have said I want 10% of his salary for the next 20 years. We could have built the new centre on that. He's earning so much money now.
Yeah.
So wealthy, the man.
Maybe Jim will be the new caretaker of the land.
He could be. He could be. Yeah. Don't really see that.
So obviously you guys worked really closely together during this event. Oh.
Deal.
I'd have to go to vet school. I'm a veterinary.
So Laurie wants to ask you a question. You guys worked so close together during SOS. Go on, Laurie.
What are some of your favourite stories that you can remember from all those years of filming?
Some of those favourite stories from all those years of filming that don't cross the line and don't get us all into trouble, guys. So just contemplate that quite carefully.
Oh, easy.
The cuckoo.
Cuckoo.
Jim came with me for the
know.
cuckoo, so yeah.
Yeah.
But Jim didn't fly first
Oh,
class,
I've already
did he?
said it.
Oh, okay.
But Jim was there too.
I would say that the guy that was seeing snakes in his garden.
Yes.
Oh, tell them about that story, 'cause we haven't had that one out for a long time.
So, guy calls up, says there's snakes everywhere in his garden, and he's opposite a school.
Right
I
next
think
to
you
school,
were-
which is why we panicked.
He had to go, yeah.
And then we raced over there and walked up to his house. He was in the garden, wasn't he? And I think you or Simon said, "Where's the snakes?" And he said, "Look down there. They're all over the path there. And then look, there's a bird with an umbrella in its hand." And we just all went.
And a coat hanger.
And a coat hanger in his mouth. And we kind of all just stopped and was like, "Oh,
Oh dear.
I understand now."
He was like, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
But he wasn't joking, was he? He honestly believed it. He
could see them.
He was
Yeah.
there. He was there, and we just didn't quite know how to treat it because we didn't want to be nasty to him or rude to him.
Yeah.
But we were just sort of slightly snickering to ourselves politely.
I think you got out of it by saying, "Oh no, these are snakes. They're okay. They're not venomous, and they just come out every day at this
They
time."
won't hurt you.
Yeah, I think, and then we sort of like, as we were walking backwards, you know,
Yeah.
quickly.
Oh.
So there was that. We had a laughing fit, didn't we? When
Oh, the buzzard.
The buzzard,
Yeah.
yeah.
Simon wanted to wear a sheet.
that's right, to feed the buzzard.
And he's like, when we go in to feed him, we can't let him see us. So
Yeah.
we'll design some kind of sheet. And I just couldn't get it out
like
of
a
my head.
ghost. And then every time we tried a new take, me and
couldn't do
Lucy
it.
started laughing. It was hopeless. We couldn't do
we had
that.
to give up, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah.
fell asleep on every trip back from every rescue we did.
Yeah.
Jim's narcoleptic, without any doubt.
He still
Absolutely.
did that when he was here. He, fell
He
asleep
does
in
it
the
every
car
time in the
after
car, he
about
does
40
it.
minutes.
Yeah.
Then we had some bed.
I've slept
One
on
thing
a
we lose.
crocodile before.
Huh?
I've fallen asleep on top of a crocodile. Do you remember when we went to Belize?
Yeah.
We were rescuing problematic crocodiles that needed relocating. And we had to take them out on a really bumpy boat ride. But we had to one of us had to lay on top of it. It was obviously tied up, but you still had to put your full weight on it because it would just thrash around and become like a problem.
A whirling dervish.
Yeah, so you had to lay on it, and this boat ride was so long, and it was so, like
It rocked you to
bumpy.
sleep.
It rocked me to sleep, and I woke up and I was just eye to eye with the crocodile, and I'd forgotten where I was, and you could just see in his eyes he was like, "I'm gonna
Eat him.
Yeah.
He's mine.
As soon as I'm released,
He's
First
mine.
opportunity.
get off me." Yeah.
Well, we've had some interesting experiences, haven't we, over the years? We've done some quite interesting filming trips. What was the funniest thing abroad that we were talking about the other night? I forgot now. Something happened.
Funniest thing abroad?
Yeah.
God, that's a hard one. That's a hard. There's a long list.
Yeah, there's...
Yeah, probably the funniest one was when
Don't be nasty to me. Don't be nasty.
when we were stood next to all those marine biologists on the beach in Miami, and we were waiting for
Jim dreamt this. I
We were
didn't. I
made-
never said this. Jim.
We were-
Jim's got this thing that he seems to remember things incredibly wrongly.
we were waiting for a mass stranding of whales, and it never happened. But Simon was like, "So what are those holes on my head for?"
Smoking. They need a cigarette when they're underwater.
And there's just this line of heads, just like turned turned down. It's like, what? What is this guy?
Yeah.
Jim has a memory
You
like
did manage
no
to
other.
get Jim back with a chili pepper though, didn't you, Simon?
No, he didn't care. Jim didn't care that I was going to die. That was Jim and Jason played a trick on me once, and you know I played up to it that I was going to die any second, and Jim just kept driving. He said,
So
Simon.
what was the trick?
the trick, well, they put quite a strong chili pepper in a profiterole or something I was
yeah.
eating, and then I ate it. I realised what I'd eaten, so I said, oh, you know, it's all fine, it's all great. And I somehow brought up chili peppers. I said, you know, the one thing I can't get near is chili peppers. I'm allergic to them, and I have to go straight to hospital if I eat one. Jason looked really guilty and was panicking, and Jim just went, oh, so what?
I was asleep.
Yeah.
You weren't at that stage, you were awake.
No,
You
I
were
was
awake.
asleep. I think Jason he woke me up and he said, I think we've killed Simon. Like, oh, I think he's going to die. Because I think you worried him so much in revenge for us doing that.
Absolutely. Oh,
That he was convinced, and I was like, what?
It's
Yeah.
cruel.
We've had some good times. We've had
Played
some
many
good times.
practical jokes on each other on those trips.
I think the worst time I ever had, actually, and I felt guilty, and it was until years afterwards I learned. When I was doing these trips abroad, I always tried to stay reasonably professional while we were filming. And I didn't get drunk every night, and I stayed sober, and I went to bed early, whereas Jim and Jason went out partying. One of our trips, they'd been out partying the night before, and apparently they were found lying on air beds in a swimming pool about 6 o'clock in the morning, and we had to go straight out and do some early morning filming. And we had to do a bit. It was quite, you know, we'd done the sequences. The guy had gone, Jim said, I want these shots, and you've got to ask this question, and then we'll cut it all in together.
No,
And
you had to deliver a line.
I deliver a line
to camera.
Yeah, and I delivered this line 37 times. I was getting so embarrassed. I felt so guilty for Jim. He was just getting more and more angry. He's really getting angry with me. I just felt terrible. And I delivered the line. I delivered the line again and again and again. And months later, he admitted that he was so drunk still that he couldn't pull a shot. So he had a shot on the fence pulling across to me, and he had to do a focus pull all the way through, and he couldn't do it. So 37
Blame
times
it
he
on
made
you.
me do that.
Well, I was just
blamed it on
going
me.
again. So completely oblivious to his feelings.
You've always been oblivious to my feelings, Jim.
I
It's
haven't.
cruel. You're
I haven't.
cruel.
I'm not now.
No. I
Jim's
said to Laurie the other
actually
day,
the one
said-
that me videos, so if any of the shots that you see in our YouTube videos are out of focus, you can blame him for that as well.
Yeah, you can. I mean, we always know when Jim comes. Laurie said this morning, why was Jim round the other night? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, nice to see him. He said, why did he come round? I said, come on, Laurie, why did he come round? He said, because he wanted something. And that's Jim. If he wants something, he'll come round.
There's a board up there.
What do you want?
It's
Is this the
in
stuff
there.
you want?
No, it says Jim's stolen list.
Oh no.
Jim just takes kit. He just sort of kit vanishes, and
Yeah.
it's like my house
Jim-
keys.
yeah.
Remember that?
Wow.
Years I'd lost my house keys. Couldn't find them anywhere. And Jim suddenly, when he was moving from one house to the next house, he was taking all the coats off, and there are my house keys hanging on his coat hanger in his house.
Well, that
It's been
guy.
nice.
So what do you want tonight then? Why?
Yeah.
I literally came here
Out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah.
because Simon asked me to yesterday to surprise us.
Oh
Surprise you.
really?
Surprised you
Oh.
to see
Yeah.
So
the
now
old
now I
team
feel guilty.
back together.
And I also need a charger.
So we have had a few questions come in as well.
We got questions,
so I'll
guys.
get to a few
Okay.
of those.
Let's do a few
Sunshine
questions.
Land has asked, apart from being bitten by the animal being rescued, are there any other kinds of injuries or accidents that happen during rescues?
I never have accidents
You've
on
fallen
rescues.
over, as has
Never.
Jim actually, on rescues.
Jim's fallen over.
With
Phil's
his
fallen
hand.
over a wheelbarrow.
There's a whole
Jim's
reel.
fallen over. A whole reel of bloopers where they've fallen over kit. And it gets quite embarrassing.
Disappeared down holes. whilst I
Jim's
was
disappeared
filming.
down a hole. I don't think we want to go there, do we? This is YouTube, guys. It's a family show.
I think while I
Moving
was
on.
walking and filming, I missed. The camera literally drops to the height of your knees in about a second. It just as I just fell down the hole. Yeah, because you can't see where you're walking. Can you?
We did do one rescue. We've been out to dinner. Laurie probably remembers this better than us. We've been out to dinner. We'd all had maybe just a little bit too much to drink, and we got a call on the way back for a rescue, which we went and did. And you were so legless, you walked into a wall. the poor people who had this out. We rescued the animal's
Doesn't
fine or
happen
whatever.
anymore.
Yeah.
But the cameraman was just out of control.
That
As he
made it to
often
the
was.
SOS episode as
Yeah,
well. didn't
there's no, you could
There's no
deliver them
sound.
anything and they take it.
it? There's no sound, thankfully.
Yeah. I think BAFTA are going to be asking for them.
Yeah. You'll
Yeah,
get a
that's
phone
asking for
call.
their money
Like,
back.
oh Christ, you made that.
Yeah.
That wildlife show with no sound.
Cancelled.
So we've got to do another. One day we've got to do another show. We have tried to get another show, guys, but it just ain't working at the moment. Whether it will ever, who knows? That's why we started YouTube, because we'd had our run with Discovery, which went on for some. We were filming for what, 13 years, 10 years, something like that.
There was 10 series, right?
Yeah, 10. Yeah, I think we filmed for about 13 years.
Yeah.
Because some of the series were sort of double
We
series,
had a
weren't they?
gap after series 5, I
Yeah.
think, for a year or two,
Yeah,
and then it kicked
they
off.
kicked
again.
off again. But yes, it was an interesting. That was fun time. Fun time.
120 episodes, I believe,
So one of the longest, at the time, it was the longest running ever series of
believe
its
it still
kind.
is.
and it was launched on Channel 5
Yeah,
It's still on, Channel
Still
on
on.
the day that Channel 5 launched.
yeah, it was
One of the first shows.
Easter
And-
'97.
And then it was on ITV and Animal Planet. And it, I think the initial budget was around
£5,000 an episode.
£5,000 an episode.
Yeah, £5,000 an episode. By the time we finished, we were up to about £60,000 an episode, weren't we? I think.
Wow.
I
And
think
still we lost
I think
money.
it was high. I think it was 120 for those.
Of the hour ones.
For the hour
Yeah,
ones.
for the hour ones, that was longer.
Yeah,
And Jim took all of it. Left me nothing.
that's
Just
completely.
wait.
He
He
kept
got his
asking for
BAFTA.
more and more money. He
That's
threatened to
such
leave.
a lie.
He threatened to
Such
walk
a
off
lie.
set. He threatened to go if I didn't pay him more.
I wish I had that power.
Never mind.
So,
That's how life goes.
But we basically shot it, produced it, edited it, and then did all the post production. He did the voiceover as well as obviously appearing in it. And we sent it to the network. I remember we didn't get any notes back. You know, they would just be grateful that we'd
Just
sent them
accepted it.
something. Yeah, and I mean it's unheard of now in telly nowadays. You just do one roll.
Mhm.
Goes to a post-production house, but it was all done here in house.
Just
Those
on
were the
there.
days.
I think it's right. I don't think there'll ever be a series like that with that much autonomy ever again. You
No, it was a lot of fun. We did have a good time. We
certainly
went to the
land
time.
breaking at the time.
It was the team effort of making it that was so good, wasn't it? Like we were so relaxed. There was no bravado or egos or.
It's because
like,
everybody knows each other, so you're more
Yeah.
relaxed. and-
Yeah, and the time scales of making it were more relaxed. We didn't have to. So we shot a whole series over a year,
Mhm.
and it literally took that long to get enough stories because there's so much process and so much repetition. You go out for 100 fox rescues, and only 3 of them are going to be
In the
exciting
series.
enough to be on telly, aren't they? The rest you're just sort of scooping up the half-dead fox off the driveway.
That doesn't work so well.
No, I mean,
No, it was good. It was
I mean,
good times.
animal people love that shit, but most people aren't going to watch it.
No. Well, I think they would. I think people would watch it again, to be honest with you.
There would definitely
It's never
be,
going to happen.
Definitely, there will be an audience for it. for
Yeah,
sure,
but they'll never shoot it like you need to shoot it to make it that good. That's the trouble. They're coming here with being on Tuesday at 9 till 7, and then we'll whatever, and they try to shoot it too quick. They don't get the good stuff.
Well, they're forced to by the channel.
Yeah.
Because they have to deliver earlier now, and then there'll be a large crew for a short period of time, and it won't fit with the volume of rescues that you need to cover over a year. You need to film from January to all the way through.
They got
January
gold
again.
from us, didn't they? They got
You can't
television
plan it,
gold.
can you? You can't
No,
say,
absolutely
oh,
not.
tomorrow we'll do a badger rescue.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
No. So you have to allow for that. No, that's what we did, and that's why we got that material.
Series for so long. So now we're on YouTube instead. So everybody watching tonight, thank you for being here on the live. But do look at all the videos because we've got thousands of hours on there. How many hours have we got on YouTube, Laurie?
I'm not 100% sure about hours. We have probably closing in on 500 videos up there now.
500
Some of them
videos.
are longer, sort of 20-minute episodes. We used to do a mini series.
Yeah,
Some of
but
them
there's-
are anything from 3 minutes up on there. But
Oh, Jim's
there's
got his director glasses on now, Laurie. Oh, he's taken them off.
I have to go.
He had his
Like a
posh
different
glasses
person's
on.
glasses.
Oh, he does. He looks terribly important now. I mean, he's so well paid. He's paid more than the Prime Minister now. so wealthy.
Utter rhubarb.
Rhubarb. That's controlled for you. Jim, thanks for popping in. Really cool, man. I'm really grateful.
See you, mate.
Oh
Good to see
dear,
you.
off we go. Cuddles now all the way around. You be good, Jimbo.
See you, mate.
Be good.
Take care.
Oh God, cuddles. So you know, Jim knows I don't cuddle. We don't do cuddles, do we, Jim?
He's only doing that because
Don't you, Brother Lee? God.
So I'll pop
If
back.
suddenly goes live, he's tripped over it.
Jim Ingleman has left the house.
See you later.
He's gone. He was like that on the series as well. Breezed in, breezed out. Off he went. No, they're good times. They're good
I
times.
think that's something that people don't necessarily realise about Wildlife SOS as a series, is it was pretty much a completely in-house thing. So it was run obviously by you, Simon, Lucy, Sarah Cowan back in the day as well, and then in terms of the production it was shot by Jim and a guy called Jason Gibberti, and originally by a guy called Steve Rouse, and all edited and finalled and everything in-house. So it was just that tiny team that was responsible for the whole thing.
But the difference
Very
from
fast.
nowadays, how it was then, we literally filmed. We were on call, not filmed. We filmed and were on call 24 hours a day for the length of that series. So you know, nowadays the company would just breeze in and shoot an hour or two one day, an hour or two the next day. We were there, we were in it, on it, and all over it, all times of day and night. Which is why we got the gold. You know, 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't ring the production company and say come and film this because we've gone. So you know, Jim would be here literally. He lived in a caravan across there to start with, and we filmed. Literally, we were on call 24 hours a day, and that's what made the series so special. And you just could never repeat it nowadays. Nobody would get the budget to shoot what we shot then. I mean, to shoot what we shot then now would probably be, it would be hundreds of thousand quid an episode, let alone anything else. So they were good days, unlikely to be repeated. So, any questions for Laurie or anything for Lucy?
There is a number of questions that are coming in, so we'll try and get through a fair few of those. First one which has come in. I feel like there hasn't been many swan videos lately. Have you had swans in? So this is a good excuse to touch on something that's happened and is still happening really in the UK, which is avian influenza and the impact that that's had on us and other charities. So Simon, do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, we haven't had a lot of swan rescues recently. We've done 1 or 2 minor things, but nothing in massive trouble. We've done the odd relocation and things like that. But because of avian flu, we have to be really careful. So we're still, sadly, not allowing ourselves to taking in any seabirds at all. Anything that lives on the sea, we don't take at all. And if we get something that can fly inland and whatever, we're very careful. If it's got any symptoms of avian flu, we sadly don't take it in. We've got a special quarantine unit which doesn't even enter the centre of the quarantine unit for those birds. Is out in the car park, so we can assess it, fully gowned up, fully protected, and decide whether we dare take it into the centre or not. Things like young ducklings and things like that, or something that's had an obvious RTA injury or an injury from people, yes, we will still take them, but sadly we still can't take water birds. Avian flu is not without us, it's still going on, and I don't think we've seen the end of it yet. We still get at the odd, outbreaks here, there and everywhere. There's been a couple right up north, and they're not getting any better. So we have to be careful because we want to protect the rest of the patients here. We don't want to suddenly get closed down and have to kill everything that's at the centre. That would be just horrendous. So we're overcautious perhaps, but we're playing it safe.
Yeah, as are a lot of other rescues.
Yeah, you have to.
Light Expeditions has just asked, how do you keep the animals cool at the centre whilst they're in rehab?
It's very unfair actually, because I sit in this hot, sweaty, nasty office, and all the animals in all the pens have air conditioning, which really, really, really hacks me off sometimes. But it's all controlled. All the pens up there, the major pens where we've got lots of animals in, are air conditioned, so they're warm during the winter, cool during the summer, and we just sit and sweat. Part of the game.
Our pens are incredibly expensive. Even some of our, what we call our silent unit sheds, which are the multi-purpose things that we use for anything from hedgehogs to fox cubs to birds, ducklings, anything like that. Each of those has a £10,000 air conditioning unit in it, which keeps it at a particular temperature. So depending on where we are in the rehab journey, we can adjust that so that we can slowly bring it down to get that animal used to the external temperatures before it goes out into an aviary or into a pen or anything like that. And it makes everything much more gradual, because the one thing you really need to in the rehab world really is make sure that you mitigate any possible issues whilst you're along that journey.
Lucy gets so bored when you talk, Laurie, because she can't hear what you're saying.
She
She sits there wondering what's going on. And I'm
even if
silent
you
as
could
well.
hear me, you'd get bored.
I won't tell her that. That would
It's
just that would
true.
upset you too much. He said even if you could hear him, you'd get bored. Oh yeah, she
See?
said yes. She agrees with you. She doesn't work here now. She can say what she likes.
Well, when I
Quite
first
easy.
started here as a volunteer many years ago, Lucy was in charge of the hospital, so she was very much my boss. And I used to come in and
Lucy
say,
was
"Is there
his
anything we
boss
can do?"
when he was a volunteer?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
I remember
And
his first
she used
day.
to come into the ICU and just, like say, "Laurie, make up a cage, do all that," in a really nice way. But I remember that quite distinctly.
Well, there we are. Okay, Laurie, we've gone 8 o'clock and we promised to close at 8 tonight because we've got lots going on. Any final word? You can have 30 seconds. Lucy, have you got anything? Let's do Lucy first. Lucy, you have...
I promised my husband something.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
That he
Can we say this on YouTube?
Yes. He wanted me to remind you whose video is the most viewed on
We've
the...
talked about it today. It's one, actually, it was a rescue that scared the living bejesus out of me because Sean went up a ladder, right to the top of the ladder, right to the top of the house, and to get the bird that he was after, we'll come back to that in a minute, his feet were on the very top rung of the ladder, and he was just leaning against the wall of a house, and that, to be honest, that was unsafe, insane, madness. But there was a pigeon stuck with its beak stuck in a brick on a wall right up on this house, and he got it down and brought it down, and that still had the most views, over 33 million views of Sean's hand plucking a pigeon out of a wall. So it's odd what goes, you know. We did that on purpose, Sean, just to make you feel good, so I just want you to know that. But no, it was if he ever did it again, I'd kill him, because you know, I can just see a volunteer falling to the floor, like Laurie when he's up a tree. I've just spent the whole time terrified that it's going to go wrong.
No, you're terrified of what you'll have to say to my mum.
No, I'd leave the country if I had to speak to your mum. I'd ring her from Barbados saying, sorry, he's gone. Guys, anything else from you, Lucy? She'll be back soon as a full-time vet nurse.
No.
Yes, she will.
No.
Laurie, anything for you to sign off?
Yes, as well. So obviously,
30 seconds.
thank you all. Thank you all so much for all your kind comments, your support, and everything like that. And we do have to get a little serious just to end off. Obviously, there is a lot more going on as well. We've tried to be very light, not to touch on things a bit too much. But as you all know, unfortunately, we are in a particular situation at the moment. You can see our website for further details on there, and we do need to raise a large amount of money to relocate the centre from where we are at the moment down to the new site. Unfortunately, time is not necessarily on our side. We're hoping it is, but we do have to make sure that we prepare. So if you do want to help us keep going now and long into the future and help set this legacy of work that Simon has built over the past 42 years, please, Abby's going to drop some links in the chats on Facebook and on YouTube. If you go to www.wildlifeaid.org.uk/Simons-last-wish, you can see all of the things on there. We do need to raise £4 million minimum, unfortunately, because that is the baseline cost of moving what we have at the centre at the moment over to the new site. That's the absolute baseline. And to be honest, there is no way we are going to let Simon get away with not cutting the ribbon on the new building on that site. He means an awful lot to me, he means an awful lot to everybody else, and this glorious charity that he's created and that we are all part of the extended family for must continue and really needs to continue. So thank you all so much for your support now and in the future, and we will see you again on the next one, hopefully very soon. See you later.